Welcome to the Salvation Army Disaster Radio. Today we're doing a special video podcast segment highlighting the cornerstone of the Salvation Army Disaster Services program, our mass feeding. And the foundation of our mass feeding program is our mobile feeding units, what we refer to as the Salvation Army Canteen. We're lucky today because we have Divisional Disaster Director Kevin Smith with the Florida Division. He's an expert in mass feeding and an expert in canteens. And he's going to tell us, what is a canteen?
Hey, Christy.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
I know everyone out there watching our video podcast wants to hear from a true canteen expert. What is a canteen?
Well, a canteen is really the basis of the Salvation Army Disaster Ministry. It's the first thing to get to the people at the place of need and time of need. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
Can you give us a tour?
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
You know, Christy, to make it simple, it's really just a kitchen on wheels. Basically, everything you can do at home, but it's on wheels.
Are they all the same size?
No, as a matter of fact, they're quite different. Some of our kitchens can do like 500 meals a day. Some of them can do up to 5,000 meals a day. And it all depends on what's inside the unit that makes it to its capacity on the line.
So do you need a big parking lot to park in and have everyone come and get food there?
When you're talking about those big numbers of the Salvation Army, when we're serving those 5,000 a day, yeah, that probably is good. But the beauty of these things, you can take them into small communities right in the place of need. And that's why they're mobile canteens, and that's why it's the foundation and service of the Salvation Army.
Cool. Let's look inside.
Absolutely.
So we're inside of the canteen, and you say they differ.
Yes, they do. As a matter of fact, on this unit alone, it's configured in a little bit of different way to give it to the local needs of their community. And we look through this one, might be a little bit different than other ones that we'll see as you go through the different communities.
You've got a 3-compartment sink.
That's right. Food safety is critical in our Salvation Army canteens. And most health standards will tell you, you have to have 3 compartments, as well as you have a hand washing station. So that makes this a very safe food handling environment.
But in talking about food safety, do you only get cold water out of here, or how do you get hot water?
Well, actually, underneath the sink is a hot water heater, or a water heater, that's similar to what you have in your home to make it a very safe and sterile environment.
I see you have Java.
Absolutely. What's the most critical part of a Salvation Army canteen? Having coffee on the scene. And these are made and built into the canteens to put out peak amount of coffee for those that we serve during disaster.
And then you have your storage areas.
That's right. You know, you've got to be ready in a disaster to be able to move your quantity of stuff, have stuff on hand so that you can supply quickly. It's good to have good shelving throughout your unit so that you can stock stuff away and be ready to respond immediately.
So you've got prep areas, and then what is this thing right here?
Actually, this is something that any guy on a canteen has ever experienced in a disaster will love to tell you about this. You take this, try your normal can opener on one of these big cans. Takes you 30 minutes to try to open it. Pop these in here, within seconds you have a can open and ready to go and serve to the people.
I love it. I don't know if this is a stupid question, and I don't want to sound naive, but it's really shiny in here.
Yeah, Kristen, one of the things is we talk about the water and the safe food handling. It's very critical for us to have surfaces that we can clean and sanitize regularly on a canteen. It just helps having one more way to have a safe food environment.
And so you've got 2 microwaves.
That's right. There's always something you have to heat up quick and get out or add to a food or something like that. Having a microwave serves to be critical during a disaster.
Tell me now about all the equipment behind you. This looks like some heavy-duty cooking equipment.
Well, yes, and one thing we need to know is we talk about the differences within canteens is each one of them may be configured different to the usage in the local community. On this one's going to be a little bit different. Some of them you will see like a 36-inch griddle surface on it with a traditional stove. This one's taken some new approaches to serving on a Canteen to increase its capacity. Such of the things is you just have your regular 2 burners. They're industrial burners, but they can heat food quickly, and that's how you can boil water, you can get stuff up to speed real quickly. But one of the innovative things that we've seen on Canteens lately is called a tilt skillet.
Oh, cool.
Tilt skillet has become a great way to increase the capacity of a Canteen. And if you look in here, you could put any quantity of food in here, heat it up in a hurry, but you could also tilt it and use it just like a regular burger grill where you're flipping burgers or heating up hot dogs. So it becomes very functional during a disaster to increase your capacity.
So this is an oven behind you.
That's right. We talked about the differences. Some of them have the traditional griddle in an oven. Your traditional oven at home, most people will tell you the difference between a convection oven and your conventional oven. Having this convection oven really speeds up the time in which you heat the food that you have. And we have a 2-stack oven that's here. Very user-friendly, can really increase the capacity of your response on the local scene. So you have your convection ovens and a refrigerator. And you really think about having a refrigerator, you have a double stack, a lot of capacity. And some of the units you'll also see differences that'll actually have a freezer on them. These are important. This is just a refrigerator double stack. You can keep your milk, the stuff that needs to stay cold when it's appropriate to stay cold.
So you have prepped, cooked, served, cleaned up, and you're done.
Not exactly, Christy. Actually, one of the important points is maintaining your Canteen. There's some real features we need to look at to talk about what do you need to do to keep it running.
Okay, outside?
Outside, let's go.
All right.
Christy, we talked about things of maintaining the Canteen. A little walk around the Canteen to show you some of those things that we need to talk about.
What is this?
Well, you've got your propane. Every Canteen has some fuel source for the kitchen, the oven, and for other utilities. It's important to always check and maintain the fuel in the Canteen. You never want to be on scene and not have fuel to be able to cook. So it's always good to check before you leave to make sure you have adequate supply and also to make sure you don't have any leaks.
Okay, so I don't know much about trucks, but I do know the difference between gasoline and diesel.
That's right, and some of our Canteens is different. One of them may have a gasoline supply for the engine and a separate diesel supply for the generator. On this Canteen, it's all one fuel source, but it's important to check with your owner's manual to know what it is for your unique Canteen.
Speaking of the generator, is that what this is?
It is, and it's a good generator too. So when we talk about the generator, it's important that we maintain the functions of the generator just as we do the inside of the Canteen. A few things that I want to highlight here is, you always have an on and off switch in the Canteen, but it's important to know that there's one right here, so you can turn safely on and off the generator right here using this compartment. It's also important to know that there's a breaker there that you can shut the power off to the unit. If this goes, and the breaker is blown, then you won't get power inside. So it's always good to know a place that you can check first to make sure the power is actually going to the Canteen. Something you want to make sure is you're always checking the fluids. It's just like your car engine, a generator is. You always want to make sure that you've got adequate fresh oil in the generator to maintain it. And then there's other fluids, depending on the size and the functionality of the generator. You might have antifreeze in it, just like things that you would in your regular car engine. And I want to show you here, we have a power cord. Now this power cord is important because it allows you to hook up to what we call a landline service, so you don't have to rely on your generator. You always want to make sure that your power cord is in your unit when you rely on scene, so you might not have to use your generator at all times to get power.
So maintenance doesn't end under here, I'm assuming.
That's right. As a matter of fact, we have to go around the front.
Can you tell me what's under the hood?
Well, actually, let me say something really important for your Canteen is that, sometimes you're using the same fuel source as we talked about a minute ago. You need to make sure that you have enough fuel in your Canteen to make it back home after you've been serving. Some of the generators have a function on it that you won't run the generator up to a quarter of a tank so that you have enough to get back home. So you always want to monitor your fuel supply from inside the Canteen. And then we talk about what's under here. All the same things we talk about your generator and more need to be considered with your engine to your Canteen, including maintaining the oil, always changing your oil at the proper intervals based upon the manual for your Canteen.
And I guess in the end, if you don't maintain your equipment, you can't serve the community.
That's exactly right. You need to be ready to go when you're called to help support the community. If this isn't running, you can't help. It's the foundational part of our ministry and disaster services. Without it, we can't respond effectively to the point of need.
Good words from our Canteen expert, Kevin Smith.
Thanks a lot, Christy.
And that concludes our video podcast today. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at disasterradio@uss.salvationarmy.org.